Hey everyone, today we're diving deep and decoding the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. This is probably the biggest shakeup to our tax laws since the TCJA. It is absolutely packed with updates for businesses, for families, and for your savings, so let's just get right into it.
So, the real question on everyone's mind, probably yours too, is how is this actually going to affect me? And that's what we're here to figure out. Whether you're running a business, raising a family, or just planning for the future, there's definitely something in this new law you need to know about.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to decode what this act actually is. Then we'll get into the really big breaks for businesses. After that, we'll cover the relief for individuals and families, look at some new ways you can save, and finally, we'll walk through some of the tricky new rules you've got to watch out for.
So, first up, what exactly is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act?
Well, you know how a lot of the big tax provisions from the last overhaul were set to expire? This law was basically created to bring some much-needed certainty back into the picture, so people weren't left wondering what was coming next.
Here are the nuts and bolts. The OBBOBA was signed into law on July 4th, 2025, and its main job is to lock in a lot of those popular tax cuts, make them permanent. But it doesn't stop there. It also rolls out a whole new set of benefits designed to really kickstart growth and give families a hand.
All right, let's get into the good stuff for businesses. If you're a business owner, you are really going to want to pay close attention to these next couple of slides because there are two huge updates here.
Okay, so under the old law, the TCJA, this incredibly powerful tool for businesses called bonus depreciation was slowly disappearing. I mean, look at this. It was scheduled to drop from 80% all the way down to just 40% in early 2025. It was being phased out.
And then the OBBA came in and completely changed the game. It didn't just stop the bleeding, it reversed it. For assets bought and put into service after January 19, 2025, 100% bonus depreciation is now permanent. That is a massive incentive for businesses to invest.
And get this, the law also created something totally new called Qualified Production Property, or a QPP. This is a huge deal. It lets businesses immediately write off certain parts of their buildings, things like a production floor or specialized lighting, instead of having to depreciate them over 39 years. It's a real game changer for domestic production.
Okay, that's a huge deal for businesses. But what about the rest of us? Let's shift gears and look at how the One Big Beautiful Bill Act directly impacts your family's wallet.
All right, this is one of the big ones you've probably heard about, the state and local tax deduction, or SALT. The old cap was a pretty restrictive $10,000. Well, the OBBA quadruples it to $40,000, and it's going to be indexed for inflation. This is some serious relief for taxpayers who itemize. And for all the parents out there, the child tax credit gets a nice little bump, going from $2,000 to $2,200 per kid. But what's really key here is that the refundable part, the money you can get back even if you don't owe taxes, that also goes up to $1,700 per child.
This act isn't just about the here and now. It's also about setting you up for the future. So let's take a look at how it enhances the way you can save for big things, like education and retirement.
So, listen up if you're using a 529 plan for education savings. Starting in 2026, you're getting double the flexibility. The amount you can pull out tax-free for K-12 private school tuition is jumping from $10,000 all the way up to $20,000 a year.
This is a really cool one. The OBB and BESPA makes a charity deduction permanent for pretty much everyone. It lets you deduct cash donations above the line, which is just a fancy way of saying you get the tax break even if you don't itemize. This is going to help the roughly 90% of Americans who take the standard deduction.
Okay, but it's not all tax cuts and parties. To really give you the full picture, we've got to look at the fine print. Some of the new limitations and reporting rules that come along with the OBB.
So for all you business owners, heads up on this one. The deduction for meals you provide for the convenience of your employees, like lunch in the office, that's going away. It drops from 50% to zero, completely eliminated, after December 31st, 2025.
All right, now we're getting into something a little more complex. It's called the 237 haircut. Sounds weird, right? But stick with me. In simple terms, it's a new limit on how powerful your itemized deductions are, but only for the very highest earners. It basically reduces their value by about 5.4%.
Let's make this real with an example so it's not so abstract. Imagine a taxpayer in that top bracket has $100,000 in itemized deductions. While starting in 2026, because of this haircut rule, their deduction gets reduced by 2/37. So they can only actually claim about $94,600. It definitely means careful planning for those affected.
And hey, if you're into crypto or any digital assets, this one's for you.
There's a new reporting rule. Starting in tax year 2025, brokers are going to start sending out a new form, the 1099-DA. This is all about standardizing how digital asset transactions get reported to the IRS.
Phew! Okay, that was a lot. So let's boil it all down. What are the key things you absolutely need to remember from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act? For businesses, the headline is 100% permanent bonus depreciation. For individuals, it's that higher SALT cap and child tax credit. And on the flip side, you've got new rules like that 237 haircut and new crypto reporting that are going to require some careful planning.
Look, we've just scratched the surface of a really complex new law, and of course, everybody's situation is different. So you might be thinking, okay, this is great, but how do I navigate all this for my specific situation?
Well, if you are feeling that way, the team over at Prudent Accountants is ready to help you figure out exactly how the One Big Beautiful Bill Act applies to you. They can help you build a strategy to really optimize your financial position. You can find them at prudentaccountants.com or just give them a call. Thanks for watching.